Hi, welcome to Sleepy Jean. I got a new book, Rich People Problems. Okay, by Kevin Kwan. Same person who did Crazy Rich Asians. Problem number 1. Your regular table at the fabulous restaurant on the exclusive island where you own a beach house is unavailable. Harbour Island, the Bahamas, January 21st, 2015. Bettany Ortiz Mene was not accustomed to waiting. A former Miss Venezuela and Miss Universe runner-up, of course, the exceedingly bronze strawberry blonde was these days the wife of the Miami auto parts tycoon Herman Ortiz Mena. And at every restaurant she chose to grace with her presence, she was always greeted with reverence and whisked to the exact table she desired. Today she wanted the corner table on the terrace at Sip Sip, her favourite lunch spot on Harbour Island. She wanted to sit on one of the comfy orange canvas director's chair and stare out at the gently lapping turquoise waters while eating her kale Caesar salad. But there was a large, noisy group taking up the entire terrace, and they didn't seem in much hurry to leave. Bettina fumed as she glared at the tourists happily savouring their lunch in the sun. Look how tacky they were, the women overly tanned, wrinkled and saggy, none of them properly lifted or Botox. She felt like walking up to the table and handing out her dermatologist business cards, and the men were even worse, all dressed in old rumpled shirts and shorts, wearing those cheap straw hats sold at the trinket shop on Dunmore Street. Why did such people have to come here? This 3.5-mile long paradise with its pristine pink sand beaches was one of the best kept secrets in the Caribbean, a haven for the very, very rich, filled with quaint little wood houses painted in shades of sherbet, charming boutiques, chic oceanfront mansions turned into inns, and five-star restaurants to rival St. Barth's. Tourists should have to take a style exam before being allowed to set foot on the island. Feeling like she had been patient long enough, Bettina stormed into the kitchen, the fringe on her crocheted Pucci caftan top shaking furiously as she made a beeline for the woman with a shock of pixie-cut blonde hair manning the main stove. Julie, honey, where's the Delio? I've waited more than 15 minutes for my table. Bettina sighed to the owner of the restaurant. Sorry, Bettina, it's been one of those days. The party of 12 on the terrace showed up just before you did, Julie replied as she handed off a bowl of spicy Kong chili to a waiting server. But the terrace is your prime spot. Why on earth would you let those tourists take up all that space? Well, that tourist in the red fishing cap is the Duke of Glenorchy. His party just boated over from Windermere. That's his Royal Hussman you see moored off the coast. Isn't it the most handsome sailboat you've ever seen? I'm not surprised. I'm not impressed by big boats, Bettina huffed, although secretly she was rather impressed by people with big titles. From the kitchen window she surveyed the party assembled on the terrace with new eyes. These aristo-British types were such a strange breed. Sure, they had their Savile Row suits and their heirloom tiaras, but when they travelled they looked so painfully frumpy. It was only then that Bettina noticed 3 tan, well-built men in fitted white t-shirts and black Kevlar pants sitting on the adjacent table. The guys weren't eating, but sat watchfully, sipping glasses of seltz water. I assume that's the Duke's security detail. They couldn't be more obvious. Don't they know that we're all billionaires here on Bryland, and this isn't how we roll? Bettina tutted. Actually, those bodyguards belong to the Duke's special guests. They did a whole sweep of the restaurant before the party arrived. They even searched my walk-in freezer. See the Chinese fella seated at the end of the table? Bettina squinted through her Dior Extas sunglasses at the portly, balding 70-something Asian man dressed in a nondescript white short-sleeved golf shirt and grey trousers. Oh, I didn't even notice him. Am I supposed to know who he is? That's Alfred Shang, Julie said in a hushed tone. Bettina giggled. He looks like the chauffeur. Doesn't he look like that guy that used to drive Jane Wyman around in Falcon Crest? Julie, who was trying to focus on searing a cut of tuna to perfection, shook her head with a tight-lipped smile. From what I hear, the chauffeur is the most powerful man in Asia. What's his name again? Alfred Shang. He's Singaporean, but lives in England on an estate that's half the size of Scotland, so I'm told. Well, I've never seen his name on any of the rich lists, Bettina sniffed. Bettina, I'm sure you know that there are people on this planet who are far too rich and powerful to ever appear on those lists. Problem number 2. The 24-hour on-call personal physician that you have on $1 million annual retainer is busy attending to another patient. Sitting on the terrace overlooking Harbour Island's legendary beach, Alfred Shang marvelled at the spectacular sight before him. It's true, the sand really is pink. Alfred, your lobster quesadilla are going to get cold, the Duke of Glenorchy piped up, interrupting his reverie. So this is the reason you dragged me all the way here, Alfred said, staring dubiously at the triangular wedges placed artfully before him. He didn't really care much for Mexican food, except that the chef of his good friend Slim in Mexico was doing the cooking. Try it before you judge it. Alfred took a careful bite, saying nothing, as the combination of semi-crisp tortilla, lobster, and guacamole worked its magic. Marvelous, isn't it? I've been trying to convince the chef at Wilton to replace this for years, the Duke said. They haven't changed a thing at Wilton's in half a century. I don't think there's much of a likelihood they would ever put this on their menu. Alfred laughed, picking up a stray lobster chunk that had fallen onto the table with his fingers and popped it into his mouth. His phone began to vibrate in his trouser pocket. He took it out and stared at the screen in annoyance. Everyone knew that he was not to be disturbed on his annual fishing trip with the Duke. The screen read, Tysel upstairs secure. This was his elder sister, Su Yi, the only person whose cause he would take no matter the hour. He picked up immediately, and an unexpected voice said in Cantonese, Mr. Shang, this is Ling. It took him a few minutes to register that it was a housekeeper at Tysel Park. Oh, Ling Zhe. I was instructed by a lady to call you. She was feeling very unwell tonight and has just been taken to the hospital. What, we think it's a heart attack. What do you mean you think? Did she have a heart attack or didn't she? Alfred's plummy Queen's English suddenly shifted into Cantonese in alarm. She didn't have any chest pains, but she was sweating profusely, and then she vomited. She said she could feel her heart racing. Ling stuttered nervously. Did Professor Un come over? Alfred asked. I tried to reach the doctor on his cell phone, but he went straight to voicemail. Then I called the house, and someone there said he was in Australia. Why are you doing all the calling? Isn't Victoria at home? Mr. Shane, isn't Victoria in England? Alamak. He had completely forgotten that his niece, Suyi's daughter, who lived at Tyersall Park, was at this moment at the house in Surrey, no doubt embroiled in some inane gossip fest with his wife and daughter. How about Felicity? Didn't she come over? Alfred inquired about Suyi's eldest daughter, whose house was nearby on Nasum Road. Mrs. Leong could not be reached tonight. Her maid said she was in church, and she always turns off her mobile phone when she's in the house of God. Bloody useless, all of them. Well, did you call an ambulance? No, she didn't want an ambulance. Vikram drove her to the hospital in the Damla, accompanied by her lady's maids and 2 Gurkhas. Before she left, she said you would know how to contact Professor Un. Okay, I'll take care of it, Alpha said in a huff, hanging up the phone. Everyone at the table staring him up expectantly. Oh my, that did sound rather serious, the Duke says, pursing his lips worriedly. I'll just be a moment. Please carry on, Alfred said, getting up from his chair. The bodyguards trailed after him as he strode through the restaurant and outdoor to the garden. Alfred hit another number on the speed dial. Proof Un home. A woman picked up the phone. Is this Oliver? Alfred Shang here. Oh, Alfred, are you looking for Francis? Yes, I'm told he's in Australia. Why the bloody hell did they have this doctor on $1 million retainer if he was never available? He just left an hour ago for Sydney. He's doing a triple bypass tomorrow on the actor who won an Oscar for... So he's on a plane right now, Alfred cut her off. Yes, he'll be arriving in a few hours if you need to. Just give me his flight number. Alfred snapped. He turned to one of his bodyguards and asked, who has the Singapore phone? Somebody gets get Instana on the line right now. Turning to another bodyguard, he said, and please order me another of those lobster quesadilla. Problem number 3. Your airplane is forced to land before you can finish drinking your Dom Perignon. East Java, Indonesia. The silk sheets have just been turned down in the first class suites. The enormous double-decker Airbus A380-800 had reached a comfortable cruising altitude of 38,000 feet, and most of the passengers were comfortably ensconced in their seats, scanning through the latest movie offerings. Moments later, the pilots of Singapore Airlines Flight 231 bound for Sydney received the most unusual instructions from Jakarta Air Traffic Control as they flew over Indonesian airspace. Air Traffic Control, Singapore 231 Super Jakarta. Pilot, Singapore 231 Super Go Ahead. ATC, I have been instructed to have you turn around immediately and return to Singapore Changi Airport. Pilot, Jakarta, you want us to return to Singapore Changi? ATC, yes, turn the plane around and return immediately to Singapore. I have the amended advice ready to copy. Pilot, Jakarta, what is the reason for the course change? ATC, I don't have that information, but this is a direct order from the Directorate General of Civil Aviation. The pilots looked at each other in disbelief. Should we really be doing this? The captain wondered aloud. We'll have to dump 250,000 litres of fuel before we can land. Just then, the aircraft's selective calling radio system lit up with an incoming message. The co-pilot read the message quickly and gave the captain an incredulous look. Waylan, it's from the Minister of Freaking Defence. He says to get back to Singapore pronto. When the airplane made an unexpected landing at Changi Airport just 3 hours after it had departed, the passengers were disorientated and startled by the strange turn of events. An announcement was made over the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, due to an unexpected event, we have made an emergency diversion back to Singapore. Please remain in your seats with your seatbelts fastened as our flight to Sydney will resume immediately after refueling. Two men in discreet dark suits came aboard and approached the man seated in Suite 33A, Professor Francis Un, Singapore's leading cardiologist. Professor Un, I'm Lieutenant Ryan Chen from SID. Please come with us. We're leaving the plane? Professor Un asked, but utterly baffled. 1 minute he was in the middle watching Gone Girl, and the next minute the plane had landed back in Singapore. He hadn't even recovered from the film's jaw-dropping plot twist. Lieutenant Chen nodded curtly. Yes, please gather all your belongings. You won't be returning to this flight. But what did I do? Professor Un asked, suddenly feeling uneasy. Don't worry, you didn't do anything, but we need you to get off this plane now. Am I the only one leaving? Yes, you are. We're escorting you directly to Mount Elizabeth Hospital. You have been requested to attend a VVIP patient. At that moment, Professor Un knew something must have happened to Shang Shuyi. Only the Shangs have the kind of influence to turn around a Singapore airline with 440 passengers on board. Part 1. The only thing I like about rich people is their money. Nancy Astor, Viscountess of Astor. Chapter 1. Davos, Switzerland. Edison Cheng stared up at the soaring honeycomb-structured ceiling in the vast white auditorium, feeling on top of the world. I'm here. I'm finally here. After years of Olympic-level networking, Eddie had at long last made it. He had been invited to attend the annual meeting of the World Economic Forum in Davos, strictly by invitation only. This prestigious event was the only elite smooth fest on the planet. Every January, the world's most important head of state, politicians, philanthropists, CEOs, tech leaders, thought leaders, social activists, social entrepreneurs, and of course movie stars would descend upon the secluded ski resort high in the Swiss Alps in their private jets, check into their luxury hotel, put on their 5,000 ski jackets and ski boots, and engage in meaningful dialogues about such urgent issues as global warming and rising inequality. And now Eddie was part of this ultra-exclusive club as the recently appointed senior executive vice chairman of private banking global for the Liechtenberg Group. He now found himself standing in the middle of the futuristic auditorium at the Congress Center, breathing in the rarefied air and catching slivers of his own reflection in the thin chrome leg of an auditorium chair. He was wearing his new bespoke Sartoria ribbon suit, which had been outfitted with an inner lining of 10-ply cashmere so that he never had to wear a ski jacket over it. His new Corthic squirrel suede shookers had special rubber soles so he would never slip on the slick alpine streets. On his wrist was his newest horological acquisition, a rose gold A. Lang and son Richard Lang, Paul Le Metrier, peeking out at the precise amount from his sleeve cuff so other watchophiles would see that he was wearing. But most important of all, what was what he wore over his satirical splendor, a black lanyard at the end of which was attached a white plastic badge with his name printed in the middle, Edison Cheng. Eddie fondled his slick plastic badge as if it was a jeweled encrusted amulet personally bestowed on him by the god of Davos. This badge distinguished him from all the peons at the conference. He wasn't some PR hack journalist or one of the common attendees. This white plastic badge was the blue line at the bottom meant that he was an official delegate. Eddie glanced around the room at all the classes of people in hushed conversations, trying to see which dictator, despot, or director he could recognize and connect with. Out of the corner of his eye, he spotted a tall Chinese man wearing a bright orange ski parka peeking in through the auditorium side door, seemingly a little lost. Wait a minute, I know the guy. Isn't that Charlie Wu? Oi, Charlie! Eddie yelled a little too loudly as he rushed over towards Charlie. Wait till he sees my official delegate badge. Charlie beamed at him in recognition. Eddie Cheng, did you just get in from Hong Kong? I came from Milan, actually. I was at the men's fall fashion show, front row seats at Etro. Wow, I guess being one of Hong Kong's title's best dressed men is serious work, isn't it? Charlie quipped. Actually, I made it to the Best Dressed Hall of Fame last year, Eddie replied earnestly. He gave Charlie a quick once-over, noticing that he was wearing khaki pants with cargo pockets and a navy blue pullover under his bright orange parka. What a pity! He used to be so fashionable when he was younger, and now he's dressed like every other Czech nobody. Where's your badge, Charlie? Eddie asked, flashing his own proudly. Oh yes, we're supposed to wear them all at all times, aren't we? Thanks for reminding me. It's somewhere buried in my messenger bag. Charlie dug around for a few seconds before fishing out his badge, and Eddie glanced at it, his curiosity morphing into dismay shock. Charlie was holding on all white badges affixed with a shiny holographic sticker. Fucky fuck, this was the most coveted badge, the one they only gave to world leaders. The only other person he had seen so far wearing this badge was Bill Clinton. How the fuck did Charlie get one? All he did was run Asia's biggest tech company. Trying to mask his envy, Eddie blurted, "Hey, are you attending my panel, Apocalypse Asia, How to Secure Your Assets When the China Bubble Really Bursts? I'm actually on my way to give a talk to IGWEL. What time do you go on? 2 o'clock. What's he talk about?" Eddie asked, thinking that he could somehow tag along with it. Charlie, I don't have anything prepared really. I think Angela Merkel and some of the Scandinavians just wanted to pick my brain. Just then Charlie's executive assistant Alice walked up to join them. Alice looked. "Look who I found. I knew you would bump into someone from back home sooner or later," Charlie said. "Mr. Cheng, so nice to see you here. Charlie, could I have a quick word?" "Sure." Alice glanced at Eddie, who looked only too eager for her to continue while he was standing right there. "Would you mind coming with me for a moment?" she said diplomatically, guiding Charlie into a side reception room, furnished with several lounge chairs and glass cube coffee table. "What's up? Are you still trying to recover from sitting at the same breakfast table with Farrell?" Charlie teased. Alice smiled tensely. "There's been a developing situation all morning, and we didn't want to disturb you until we knew more." "We'll spit it out." Alice took a deep breath before beginning. "I just got the latest update from our head of security in Hong Kong. I don't quite know how to tell you this, but Chloe and Delphine are missing." "What do you mean missing?" Charlie was stunned. His daughters were under around-the-clock surveillance, and their pickups and drops-offs were handled with military precision by his SAS-trained security team. Missing was not a variable in their lives. Team Chungking was scheduled to pick them up outside Dushan at 3:50 p.m., but the girls couldn't be located at the school. "Couldn't be located?" Charlie mumbled in shock. Alice continued. "Chloe didn't respond to any of her texts, and Delphine never showed up for her choir, too. They thought maybe she sneaked off with her classmate Catherine Chan to that frozen yogurt shop like she did last time, but then Catherine turned up at a choir practice and Delphine didn't." "Did either of them activate the panic codes?" Charlie asked, trying to remain calm. "No, they didn't. Their phones both appear to have been deactivated, so we can't trace them. Team 2046 have already spoken with Commander Kwok. The Hong Kong police have been placed on high alert. We also have 4 of our own teams searching everywhere for them, and the school is now reviewing all their security camera footage with Mr. Tin. I'm assuming someone's talked to their mother." Charlie's wife, from whom he was estranged, lived in the house at the Peak, and the children spent every other week with her. Isabel can't be rich. She told the housekeeper that she was meeting her mother for lunch at the Kowloon Cricket Club, but her mother reported that they haven't spoken all week. Just then the cell phone rang again, and Alice quickly answered. She listened in silence, nodding her head every now and then. Charlie looked at her pensively. This couldn't be happening. This couldn't be happening. 10 years ago, his brother Rob had been kidnapped by the 11-finger triad. It was like deja vu all over again. Okay, 多谢, Alice said, hanging up, looking at Charlie. She replied, that was a team leader of Team Angels. They now think that Isabel might have left the country. They spoke to the upstairs maid, and Isabel's passport is missing. But for some reason, she didn't take any suitcase. Isn't she in the middle of some new treatment? Yes, but apparently she didn't show up at her psychiatrist appointment this week. Charlie let out a deep sigh. That wasn't a good sign. Thanks for listening.